States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Rachel.
Aubrey. Jackson. Beckman.
Here.
Mark. Here. Patton.
Here.
Tyler.
Here.
Joanna.
Here.
Heck.
Here. We have some corrections to the agenda. Under approval of bills and payables, there are $148,865.50. Total approved, $171,897.15.
Mary, would you read that first number, 148?
$865.50. And 171,897.15. Under new business, C, a DPW front end loader. We have 4 additions to the action items.
Let's go another new business, go D, publishing of meeting minutes. D, publishing meeting minutes.
Okay, under action items, D, communication strategy approval. E, dock modification approval. I got GFA $7,500, Cody Fraser and Associates. F, Bodley resignation. G, rehire Sandy Bowden vendor. What is what?
What is D?
D is communication strategy approval.
No, D.
That was D. G,
G.
rehire Sandy Bowden vendor.
Could you spell the last name, please?
BODEN, BENDER.
Say that again.
BODEN, BENDER. Any other correction? Need a motion to approve the agenda as corrected?
Make the motion for the agenda.
Support.
Moved and supported, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion is carried. Approval of the December 14th minutes.
Make the motion to approve the agenda.
I'll support.
And moved and supported to approve the minutes of December 14th, 2016 minutes. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed, motion is carried. Public comment? No public comment. Reports, police report, Scott. There is one correction on Scott's police report. Second page, CLPD traffic stops. There was only 192 stops in 2015 and not 1,926 stops.
Yeah, we figured that would have been at 6 traffic stops a day for every day of the year, so. A little bit too much.
Didn't quite compute, so. Okay, Scott.
Okay, a couple things. You've got probably 2 reports in front of you. One would be the December report. Council will do that one first. Pretty typical month, just finishing up on things, also year end, kind of, there's a lot of paperwork we have to do. And let's see what else. We did the Shop with a Cop down in Williamsburg with Antrim County DHS, which is kind of a cool program. This is our 2nd year being involved in that, so that's kind of a cool thing. Finished up the grant that we talked about last month with the RMS program that got submitted, so that's on its way. I would hope that maybe by February we'll hear something on that, so keep your fingers crossed. Anything with December's report? Nope. Okay, we'll move on to the year-end report. Okay, in a nutshell, yeah, it was 192 in 2015, 164 this year. So breaks down everything as far as categories. I think there's 80 some different categories of things that we handle, anything from traffic stops to domestic violence to 911 checks and stuff like that. So it breaks it down. You'll see left to right, it compares it from 15 to 16. Overall, if you look at the very bottom, we are up 36.9% complaint-wise, so we kept pretty busy throughout the year. So some of that is attributed to having a part-time person for more time of the year, which is nice. Obviously, if we have more people to help, we can find things to do, and obviously more traffic stops, more complaints, stuff like that. It broke down from that on page, I think it's your page 3, it's my page 2, but on page 3, I'll tell you how many hours. We're at 15.4 hours per week is what we average for part-time help. Our budget is 16 hours a week, so we stayed right underneath that. That was a good thing. And again, it probably attributes to the 900 and some odd complaints that we handled. Broke down miles, bicycle gallons use and everything like that, so pretty typical. But if we obviously have more people working more hours, obviously we're going to travel a little bit more and use a little bit more gas, so nothing of concern there. A little bit of highlights towards the bottom there as far as things that we did for the whole entire year. Then also at the bottom there, I put down like 4 goals that we are going to work towards this next year.
So goals for 2017.
16, you mean 17.
Yeah, it populates it from the last one I did, so I didn't catch that one. So yeah, so obviously it's 17 goals. So
Anything for Scott?
Alright, does the peddlers permits, the 4 was that from when the roof guys came?
yeah,
Are all 4 roof people?
typically we don't have any other ones. Occasionally, like if the ice cream truck comes through town or something like that, so it was kind of a little bit unusual, but that's what we have for. So.
Alright, thank you.
Anything else?
Let me check one thing real quick. Also, a couple of you looked at, I left, I think it was Melissa.
I think it's going
Right here.
around every.
Yeah, Bill's gonna talk about that in his, but I think that's the only other thing. Any other questions? Good, thank you.
Sam?
Everybody should have DPW. The only thing out of the ordinary on there I would like to talk about is number 3. Water leak that we repaired on West Old State Road. As it turned out, it was Dave Newcomb's service line, and it had 3 holes in it. We had dug that up approximately 8 years ago and fixed another leak in it. But it's getting deteriorated to the point, for some reason that soil up by Dave Newcomb's is just galvanized pipe, doesn't stand a chance in the hole. We're seriously gonna have to look at replacing a new service line to him. And unfortunately, our ordinance says we only go to the property line. So there's big issues, and I had to hire Buffmans to dig that hole because our backhoe wouldn't dig it. Once you've dug a hole and you backfill it back in with sand, and you get another leak, doesn't do nothing but the sidewalls just cave in on it. And it was all Buffmans could do with their excavator to excavate the hole big enough for us. So that water service is gonna leak again, a matter of when. But we're seriously gonna have to look at doing, I don't know what to say here because it's gonna end up costing him money because our ordinance says we only go to the property line.
But we put the line in originally.
I can't answer that, Larry. I do not know that. That was put in long before me.
Can they bore that in?
Oh, I'm sure they probably can.
I mean,
Yep,
less
yep,
than digging it out?
Yep, they can come up underneath the footings of the house and bore them in. But is it gonna be at our cost or at his cost? That's gonna, so, and when they do it, they're gonna have to do it in a different spot because they still have to be able to dig up the main that all the breaks were in.
Right.
and that corporation and that tap has to be tore off that main, and the strap has to be put back over top of that one, so we plug that hole. So that same hole that Buckman's dug for us has to be redug. So there becomes and all that plunger has to get took off that main to abandon it.
But their service is good right now?
There's no leaks right now.
So the next time it leaks is when it gets done, or
I'm-
planning it in the spring?
I'm just
or-
bringing it to everybody's, I'm not planning anything because I don't know what the costs are, I don't know what the village is willing to pay towards it. By the way, our ordinance is wrote, we only go to the property line. So it becomes issue, we've done it for other homeowners in town, we've helped them out and dug them in, fortunately it didn't cost a lot. But this is one that could cost quite a bit.
Let's not forget it, come spring.
And then sewer pumps, we're really starting to spend a lot of time on sewer, and if anybody looked at the revenue and expenditures, we actually bumped wages up last year, and we're already above our wages. After 40 years of our system, our pumps are really starting to fail, and we're putting a lot more time into them. And I'm gonna start, I gotta purchase 3 more pumps.
What's
because
the
we have-
life expectancy on those pumps?
I can't answer that, Bill, but I would say anytime you get a pump this lasts 35 years, I think I would think 20 years would be a good life expectancy of any pump that would be put in a hole. So I think we're beyond our 20-year expectancy life of them.
Are they all about the same age, or are we spread out?
They're spread out.
Several years?
They're spread out. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, that cost is going up, and it's going up quick to keep it going. You know, when I started, you could pump a septic tank for $125, now it's
Right.
$350. That cost is astronomical. Any questions?
All good, thank you. EDA, Cory.
We met last week and discussed the results from the SWOT analysis. We will have a copy of it too, I think we signed the agenda for that too. I followed up with Chris Corbett, the skating rink. I'm trying to get that up and going up this year. There's some miscommunication, and I think we've got it all figured out at this point. We recommended the village council to adopt the zoning ordinance changes. Just give us our DDA projects. Have an interested new board member, and discuss the proposed farmers market pavilion. And also you guys have a draft budget for the DDA.
Craig, do you have any figures of what the farmer's market brought in last year? How many
Roughly.
vendors total, how many people, how much money, was it worth it all?
Pam has all that stuff, and I don't have it in front of me, but revenue was about $1,300 to $1,400 for the first year. And some of the budget money that we put into it, stuff that we're gonna be able to use year over year. So like,
So will we see that next month, or a report of some kind?
if you ask for it, certainly.
Well, I have mentioned that, so,
Yeah, that'd be fine.
thank you.
We do have something, with the average number of vendors.
A couple months ago, Pam was gonna bring all that to us the next month,
Okay. And then
numbers and.
I'll talk to her, she must have it and never came back, I'm not sure. She also took on another job, so she's been relatively busy.
Sure.
But I'm supposed to meet with her in the next week or so, I'll get that from her and get it forwarded on to everybody.
Corey, can you explain these numbers on the side, like Lakes Activities 11, Teamworks a 4? What's the high and the low, how's the square root gonna work
Well,
on this?
how this was done was this was given, as a SWOT analysis, and basically we came up with these topics, and then we assigned a value to them. And everybody had, it was more than, you could vote more than once per topic. And how it worked out was we had these topics, and we lined them up on all around, and everybody in the room were given different stickers. And this sticker was worth, blue was worth 3, red was worth 2, and yellow was worth 1, or something along those lines. And then we went around the room, and everybody put how they valued that particular item. They assigned a value to it. So they may have assigned teamwork a 1, and they may have assigned lakes and activities a 3, because they felt that was more important. So everybody in the room was allowed to do that.
So strengths, lakes or activities are our greatest strength at 11, am I reading this correctly?
Correct.
Then would come historic buildings, Charm came in at number 6. Came in at number 5 for strength would be infrastructure broadband, is that correct?
Yes.
Then we go down to weaknesses. So the greatest weakness from this analysis is moved fireworks out of downtown, 19. Am I reading this?
That's the way I understand it as well.
Parking is 13. And then service garage is tied at 3 with lack of volunteers and lack of downtown corridor, right?
Yes.
And then our biggest opportunity was create a brand, tell your story, better leverage lake-related activity, shuttle. So under opportunities, you're saying we should have a shuttle to Shanty Creek?
That was one of the
Is that
things
one of
was
the deals
proposed.
here?
Yep, that was one of the proposed items, was to
No,
maybe create a
like
shuttle.
Shanty Creek to Central Lake.
Oh, Shanty Creek to Central Lake, okay,
Yes.
okay. So we need more events too, because that's at an 8.
Yeah, so these are done, I think, and there's also, on the back, there's also
Threats.
threats, they see.
Okay.
So,
That high score is somewhat, can you elaborate on the self-starters of business and property owners? What?
well, I don't know if that was the correct wording for it, but it was talking
Where
about.
are you reading it? I'm honest.
On the
On the
back.
back page.
The high score
On
and
the
the
back.
threats.
There's kind of a lack of working together on things, I believe, is what that was. I mean, this is 2 months ago?
Oh, 21, I see threats.
Yeah, so I don't really, this is something that Joe Borkson threw together, and it was one of the topics that somebody raised their hand and put out there, and that's what a lot of people felt, it may not be
They felt
accurate.
that the downtown businesses weren't working together amongst themselves to promote the area.
That's,
And that they needed to come and get together and start doing something on their own, separate from everybody else. Like, right now, there's advertising done by 2 or 3 different places. Well, if they group together to that, we could be doing a page of advertising. And that would be a much better draw for the city than doing all these little individual ads.
They get lost in the paper.
Right, exactly. Sure, you wanna make a statement. We spend the same amount of money, we would just have much more influence out there.
so I think this is in preparation for reviewing the downtown development plan. Becca Mayer has offered services through Rising Tide in order to revamp our development plan.
Anything else for Corey? Correspondence? We got, something here, I'm not finding. Yeah, it must be sitting on my desk, didn't do it. No, I'll come back to it, we'll move on. Committee reports. Joe's here but absent, so we'll move with sewer and water, Leila.
I have nothing. Sam's done a pretty good job so far, so I have nothing to add to that.
Bill, law enforcement.
We'll start out with Chief Scott's done some very good employee evaluations, and the board's had an opportunity to look at them. And I think he should be commended for that. That's a very good, maybe a model for the rest of the. And he's done some repairs on the patrol car. There's a battery replaced, rotate tires, change oil, and warranty work done on it. Radio changed in the other, the Explorer there, it's with a maintenance agreement. Let's see, the new office computer. New weapon exchange is under action item today. And that, I'm sure the chief can be elaborated on a little more, but it's an opportunity to upgrade the weapons that the village owns, and for very low cost. They can go from quite old weapons to brand new ones. Some evaluations, that's pretty much all I got.
Okay. Melissa?
I have nothing, I wasn't here last month, so we'll have more for next month.
Okay. Finance personnel, Brian?
I don't have anything, thanks.
Rod, Parks and Public?
Let's see, video cameras, got a bid in from Habitech and ADT. We're also pursuing doing it ourselves, having the electricity pulled by Eden Electric. But for right now, we're gonna see if we can go completely wireless and if the signal will reach to the router. Somebody else has the same exact system, the Blue Pelican, and as soon as it gets warm outside, we're gonna set it up at the pavilion, see if the cameras can run wireless all the way to the router and then out, so we don't have to run a Cat5 cable all the way from the bathroom, all the way out to the pavilion. That would save us quite a bit of money, but again, it has to be warm up, because I don't want to stand out there holding a camera in this weather. That's that. I talked to Corey about the directional signs. How was it received at the DDA?
Well, we talked about it, and I think it's gonna be something we're looking into. We'd
Okay.
like to do. We had no formal vote on it or anything.
All right.
We didn't really have a project in front of us, we just had kind of what we talked about, so.
Now, did you see the schematic Rachel had put together?
Yes, I think so. I think we had that.
All right.
And then I think I got some paperwork from you, but that might have been after the meeting. I
All
don't
right.
remember. So I know.
Tom, what we're talking about is having at each of the docks, the new west docks and the north docks, and having a small map of the downtown area. So when you get off your pontoon boat, you just don't go to the corner store and say, oh, it's only that far. Oh, Fudgy's is right there.
Yeah.
So they can walk right up the road, and through a collaboration between the DDA and the village, we can get some signs at both places, just to increase people moving from the lake to the downtown.
We talked about that at the meeting, and we all thought it was a great idea.
So,
And even though it may be 700 feet to this one and 800 feet to that one, it still is just putting these in people's minds,
sure.
and it's a great idea.
And they never knew it.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
They're there and they may be thirsty, they were hungry, and they don't know where to go.
Yep, or parents with kids want to burn some time,
Yeah.
walk them up the road.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
And signage from downtown leading to the park too?
I haven't discussed that yet.
I mean,
That
that's
was-
an issue too.
That was
People
item on the
have been
DDA.
sent to lake and didn't even know we had a lake, so.
Yeah. That was one of the items in their presentation with the DDA, is that having signs going back east the other way. We've got the docks already on the agenda under action item E. Larry's gonna talk about the MDOT. That's it.
Okay. My report. Over the holidays, I was contacted by our Rising Tide Coordinator, Dan Leonard. He asked for more specifics on the proposal we had for the farm market area, that lot, which we had proposed a 40 by 60 pavilion. And we got an estimate from Gordy Frazier's that came in at $122,000. I think Dan took that to the grant folks, and they said that sounds awful high, and so Dan came back and said, I need a bid that's a little more accurate than the 122,000. So I asked Lyle Lovelace if he could put something together, which he did. His bid came back at a little over $51,000. So obviously, we've got $222,000 that we will be receiving, minus our 20% or 10% match. Which 102 of that was designated towards the docks, which has changed, and that's gonna have to be updated as soon as possible with him. But then, because we weren't spending 122 for the pavilion, as was estimated by Gordy Frazier's, I added public restrooms and parking area, and there's 4 trees down there that need to be moving. And I put together the site plan, which I gave everybody a copy of tonight. Since that time, I called Dan last week, he didn't return my call, so I tried him again today and I got him. And I told him that since I gave him that, others have looked at it and they have some suggestions, and the suggestions were to add at least 10 more feet to the length of it, east-west, to move the structure south, and then turn North Street into angle parking rather than a parking lot. So that was submitted, and that came to 81,000, which left us with about, not quite $40,000, and I just said that we have 1,300 feet of water main that we could still replace, and this money has to be used infrastructure, so that's kind of what happened over the holidays, and it's going to change here in the next couple of days. I'm going to resubmit that with the changes that I just indicated, and I'm welcoming any input from that as we progress through this meeting. I'm sure we'll bring it back up. So a reminder that next month at 7 o'clock we'll have public hearing for the budget, and when we discuss budget tonight, there's 2 things we need to discuss for sure, and that's employee cost of living raises, if any, and our rent to the township, and the park brochure. MDOT has requested that we send them our brochures for the park, 400 of them to put into the information centers throughout the state, which Rachel has put together. Those 400, we'll send them out. That leaves us with 6 of the old brochures, but because we're making changes down there, it's a good opportunity now to be able to put a new one together. So it helps us get rid of our old. That's all I have for now. Everything else is going to be discussed under new business or action items.
So real quick, back to the pavilion here.
Yep.
It's gonna be now 40 by 70?
40 by 70.
Okay. And then you're gonna move it south
I'm
towards
going to move
the
it south,
bank?
south to whatever the setback is to the property line, 10 or 15 feet, I don't recall.
All right. Just to make room for the angled parking on the side?
Correct.
All right.
And we're going to move it west to east, enough to where there's some space out front for possibly a couple, 2 or 3 or 4 tents for the farmer's market, if they need space.
Or sitting for 4th of July fireworks or something, like car show?
Whatever, yep, I mean, it's gonna be an all-purpose pavilion. It's gonna be ice rink in the winter was the intent behind it, as well as the farmer market. Those are the 2 big uses for them, but we certainly can rent it out like we do down at the park, and we'll have public restrooms, which is probably gonna fall on the DPW to keep them clean like they do down at the park, but I think we'll probably lock them somehow. I don't know how that's gonna all pan out, but we'll have locks on those doors, so by 10 o'clock at night, they're locked and keeps kids away, vandalizing and anything like that, so. I needed to come up with something, and those were topics that had been discussed
You're gonna
throughout.
need cameras.
And, we'll see, but at least we've got something planned. And Dan seemed to be, when I talked to him today, that he could still work with that. So he was in a big hurry over the holiday, and now he told me today that he's moving, taking it all to the grant people next week. So he gave me a few days window. That's all I have for now. Approval of the bills. We have prepaids of $16,042.36, payroll of $6,989.29, payables $148,865.50, total approved bills $171,897.50.
Hey, what's that big jump for, 140 something?
It's the check to the folks down at the park doing the work, the contract.
Thanks.
I'll make a motion to approve the bills as presented. Support.
Been moved, supported. Roll call vote.
Chapman?
Yes.
Clark?
Yes.
Patton?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yep.
Zelenak?
Yes.
Hager?
Yes. We haven't received any money from the state for that, so right now it's being taken out of the 101 fund balance. And Rachel talked to the auditor and told her how to do this for the time being until we get money back from them, so.
And there will be a budget amendment next month to move money from the 101 to cover the money
Right.
in the campground fund.
Okay, new business. We have recommendation from the planning commission for the zoning. We've got a packet here. I think you all have received it from Beckett and Rader. This one with the pink highlight on it. The suggested, the consultants suggested these additions to our zoning ordinance. And we will vote on it next month. Does anybody have any questions or concerns?
So if it's highlighted pink here, is it saying take it out, leave it in?
Leave-
What's the proposed change?
Added
Added.
into it. All the pink is added into it.
Okay.
They have it listed on the front of the page, what they did in each section.
For instance, the exterior lighting installed after July 1st, 2017 shall have the fixture seal of approval for dark sky friendly light fixtures as certified by the International Dark Sky Association. That's something that didn't exist when we did our ordinances, so.
So Rachel sent them a copy of the Word document and they edited it to incorporate these changes. Okay, thanks.
Well, I think they pulled it offline.
Yeah.
May I ask a question on that?
Yep.
Section 3.15, I believe it's page 4, page 4. Number 2 there, it's highlighted at the bottom. For each use of similar buildings hereafter erected and altered, located, blah, blah, blah. The residential for single-family dwellings, 2 people, or 2 parking spaces for each one dwelling unit, multi-family dwellings. What's that gonna do to the downtown area, which we've currently had parking issues with in the
It's
past?
not gonna do
forever?
anything because this section pertains to developers and development.
Only new development, it's not gonna
Right.
do anything to the existing, okay. Alright, thank you.
How do we, of any new main building that is adequate, is that where you're getting that? Number 1, under 3.15, of any new main building?
Yes.
Thank you.
So to clarify that, just so I know, like, behind Bachman's in that area where Corey's shop is and all, it's always been a congestion and problems. The new ordinance isn't gonna address any of that kind of parking issues or anything on the main streets that have been an issue in the past? Should that be something that the council looks into to address while they're gonna amend their ordinance?
You can do one exclusively or the other.
I'm just asking, I mean, you're gonna amend your
Baby
ordinance,
steps.
would it be smart to include them parking issues that have been problematic in the past?
Yeah, we can definitely review it. I believe it's kind of something that's on our long-term.
We can't enforce existing. This is for new builds. Okay,
Correct.
so we're addressing the problem of parking, but that doesn't
Right, you can't
necessarily
override
comes out of
previous,
zoning.
right.
It's not, the parking spaces are there's just not enough of them. We understand that. So
Yes,
to change, if we got a new business
Problematic.
downtown, then
they have
A
to,
new built
yes.
business.
A new
not
building.
a new-
grandfathered in.
pretty much,
new
yeah,
building.
everything's grandfathered in. We have issues, we know we have issues. What can we do to change those issues? Those are all questions, but they all pretty much require money. So, any other questions? Any other comments?
Larry, can I have a copy of that? Because I haven't seen anything.
Yep. Lease for office rental. You all received a copy, which is one that I got from the township by way of Stan Dean. Stan and I have talked about it. He said our problem is primarily is that our general fund balance is not as big as it used to be. And number two, this is something we probably should have done years ago but didn't do. So they're hitting us with from the $4,000 a year rent that covers utilities and all office and meeting room space to $8,400 annually, which is $700 a month. I know that there's been lots of discussion,
But that's including utilities.
including utilities, yeah, it's all right there,
Not according
term
to
and
the
rental.
lease.
So,
Utilities are 130 a month
right,
extra.
and
What does raising the rent in our general fund have to do with one another?
Their general fund.
their general.
Oh, their general fund, okay, I thought you said our general.
Their fund balance isn't as big as it used to be.
Oh, okay, that makes sense, thank you.
Ours won't be as big either.
No. I reminded him that over the years, I know since I've sat in this chair before 2010 and since 2014, though the township receives 22% of their budget from village residents or village taxpayers, not residents. We seldom go to them asking for help in the village projects that we've had. They have done some things, they helped us pave before,
They pay
Some
Mill State
streets.
Road.
right? So it's not like they haven't done it. Had they spent 22% of their budget back into the village? Probably not. Have we been getting a bargain for $4,000 a year? I would say yes. There's no question about that. Are we still getting a bargain at $8,400 a year? I don't know.
10 years, we could have our own building.
In 10 years, you have $84,000.
Yeah, that doesn't build a building.
No,
Well,
that's what I'm saying, it gets us out from underneath paying rent to nothing.
that's right.
We're not kicking the can down the fiscal road either.
King of-
This $8,400 doesn't mean it can't go up another $4,000 the following year either.
This is a one-year deal.
It's a
Yeah.
one-year contract.
Let's be very clear on that, this isn't a,
There's a building downtown for sale, right behind the Central Lake Tavern, for right around $100,000.
There's that. Scott has presented a proposal to take one of the garages, to move his space down there. I've heard that we could build a building in behind the new pavilion that being proposed on that lot. I don't think that the remaining space would be adequate enough for all three of us. I think it would be adequate for Rachel and I. Scott would like a little more space, and more privacy more than anything. That is a suggestion, or has been suggested. Another suggestion I've heard is that the monument maker, Dave Wilson's building there, if he was interested in selling that, we could partition that off for office space. Another suggestion was to take the house across the street from that, if we could purchase that, tear it down and build a new building there for us.
House. You got an antique shop?
No,
No, across from Wilson's.
north on that next.
When we have a zoning.
It would be directly west.
When we
Oh,
have,
directly
Dollar
west.
General one would be
we
up
could,
first.
we could have a
Okay.
zoning issue with either one of those. But, I think we can also exercise our right of eminent domain if we had to, so.
I'm not
I
saying.
have
that, I'm
not
just
checked
saying-
into that, but I'm making an assumption that we probably could.
On which property, Larry?
Either Wilson's property, or the house across the street, which I think used to be Bob Wilson, but I don't think it is.
Yeah, it's the kids now, we got it in the
Casey
inheritance.
owns
I know,
it.
yeah, Casey owns it, yes. Yes.
So, and then Scott's idea was to take the south end of the pole building and revamp that for his operation, and he said we could take a little more of that and we'd put offices down there. The other suggestion was that we'd move into the bay where the police car is kept and expand Sam's operation and add space north to house Rachel and I. And there's probably other options or ideas out there, but those are the ones that I've heard up to this point, so. And I have no preference, I'm here to, I'll listen to anybody's suggestions that we have. We have a contract with the township that expires the end of February. End of March, this is April.
Yeah, first of April.
Okay.
Well, we can't make any moves in this quickly anyway,
No.
so we're probably gonna have to sign this year, at least we're handcuffed to that, right?
No.
I don't know.
Could you modify it for 6 months?
Or you're saying, could we make a move in 6 months?
That depends on what direction we have.
I don't
I don't
know.
wanna leave us officeless.
Yeah.
Is
Do I
anybody
think they
read,
would kick us out? I'm not sure that.
has anybody read the current lease? What you guys are actually into and how they worded it before, that it was a 10-year before they could renew anything, and that's why they couldn't do anything prior to this date. There's a wording and language in here that they had to have justification for raising rents or whatnot. My question would be is why, what is the justification for raising rent? And to say that their 101 is lower now is not a justification. What is the justification for raising rents now would be my question to it. The other thing I would say is tell them, take us to court, continue paying the $4,000 we've agreed to. We take care of the driveway, take us to court and evict us. Let the township, let the people get involved in this and let them speak their mind. Let them go to the township and tell them how crazy it is that they accept 22% of our tax dollars and they're trying to raise our rents on us. Let them speak their mind. Don't be the 6 of you now, or 7 eventually, sitting up there doing it. Let the people come speak. They're going to do it.
I've told Larry the same thing. Hold them accountable.
Yeah.
What are they gonna do?
Make them take us to a court.
They'll be watching us on camera tomorrow.
Exactly.
Me
Let
being
them
on the
take us to
township
court.
board,
Let
I
them-
felt the same way.
Let them hold us accountable.
Yeah.
What are they gonna do? If they kick us out, explain to the village residents why they kicked
There's
us out.
22% of our tax dollars go to them. Anybody that wants, I have extra of these, I'll give them to you. You guys can pass them on. These are the current lease agreements that you have. You can pass it down to.
You're already paying
You all
for part of
already
this
have,
building.
copies of the
Do,
new one.
do you still do the parking lot, or do they do that
No,
themselves?
I still do it.
He has to under the current
You still
agreement
do it,
until
right?
the lease is up.
Donnie's not doing
I
it?
brought that
If
up,
I can't get to it for some reason, but no, I basically salt, sand, and plow.
and I brought that up with Stan and said that you guys have your own plow now.
Yep.
You don't necessarily need our services anymore, so, he didn't say anything,
I'm still doing it.
yeah.
I don't see the justification in doubling the rent.
I don't either.
I just can't see it. There's nothing
There's
that
no
makes
reason
sense
for
to
it.
me.
Natural gas didn't go up. I mean, the heat bill didn't go up, yeah, and there's no,
The gas bill is,
Guys, for years, sitting up there when I was, we worked on a working community together. And they fought this and fought it and fought it. And this is their way to push back to say we're bigger. They're trying to puff their chest out and say, we've got you guys. That's all it is.
We don't have to make a decision tonight, this is under new business, we're talking about it, and
I talked to Stan today, he said that part of the reasons is the cost of maintenance on the building, it's gotta have a new roof, other things that have gone up in the 10 years or something since the initial cost.
Great question. So the square footage of these two offices,
Yeah.
75 square foot there, 50 square foot in Scott's, equalizes to how much of the square footage of this building, and it doubles, more than doubles the
Yeah, I don't
rent.
think they're including
Plus
this.
$70 a month rent for this room?
$70 a week.
Does anybody else get charged to use this room? Does that $70 a month include the DDA?
It would include village funds too, that.
Anything, okay, so that's good to know, I mean,
As long as
that's
they-
not that's not written in this lease agreement.
I understand that.
So, I mean, that's why I ask these questions, does that include them?
Does the Commission on Aging pay rent?
I can't answer that.
I mean, they occupy 1/3 of the building.
There's, right next door, there's a meeting going on.
No, I'm just saying that's a third, almost a
Right.
third building they
I think
operate.
AA runs it.
Meals on
I think
Wheels.
they pay for theirs.
I know that
That's
Lindsay
my
was
thing.
paid by the Meals on Wheels.
They wanted to bring this issue up when I was on the township board, and I told them I would never approve it. To go to the village of Central Lake taxpayers and tell them, we're gonna double your rent when you are all Central Lake taxpayers already. You're paying for this building to start with.
22% of our
This is
tax
horrible.
dollars already go to them.
Is there a way the village can opt out of township taxes?
Not, yes, there is.
That's the, I would go back to the township and pursue it that way.
Well, you can pursue becoming a city, in which case, then you're not required to
Well,
pay township.
Then you
That's
take your
something we
township
should look at,
taxes.
it really is. We should
Now,
look
now
at
you've
it.
really hurt them.
But-
My taxes way back.
On another note, Larry, something that could be looked at, you have the open space.
Too many people talking, can't hear everything.
Sorry. On another note, you've talked about where the farmer's market is next to Alden Alden Bank, that open space. You could put an office building there. We still own the Chamber of Commerce property where the farmer's market could move and put something in there, where it's connected with the chamber and it's a group effort and it's more, there's other options to look at before just paying them. I really think that
We're not gonna sign that.
this is the point where you need to play the hard ball and say no.
Well, we've discussed it, I don't think we've gotten anywhere regarding it, other than we brought it to our attention and continue to think about it, and we will discuss some more.
Discuss a little bit about moving the police department down here.
Do that right now?
Can we talk about that for a minute?
Sure.
It's
Sure.
right along the same
Yep,
lines.
it is.
Well, doesn't that give you time that you can always check out every one of these other places to find out for sure where we would feel more comfortable?
This is parts of property.
We're-
We got a whole lot of options.
I mean, you know, where to place the building. I mean, I'm thinking that there's 6 of us here, how will we narrow it down as to what the decision would be, you know? Come back next month with more ideas, and we talk about it some more, and then by April, we make the decision.
Well, that's kind of what Larry's asking for, is
I think that's,
for everybody to,
yeah, put some time and effort
Think it through.
into it and try to, talk amongst yourselves, come up with an idea. Find out what other people think about it, and we'll just hash this out as we progress.
You're always cheaper to buy it with today's market, by
An
an
existing
existing
building.
structure other than building it.
Right.
so irregardless of whether we stay here or not, we'd like to move the police department out.
It has to be moved out. It
Yeah,
has to
we'd
be
like to
moved
move it out of here, it's just not, it's not as good as it could be. I mean, it's,
Can I
if
say?
we could, one of the places that
All of you guys have a thing, I actually attached a couple of quick pictures. On there, there's actually a floor plan of kind of an idea there. That's just something I thought of, it's one of the several different ideas as far as different locations. That gets us a space that we currently already own, we don't take it off the tax roll. It's not displacing anybody, it's actually kind of a win-win. It's great for the police department because it gives us everything under one roof. Right now, I have an office here, I have evidence in the basement, I have storage in the basement, I have a patrol car in his garage, I have another patrol car in the pole barn, I also have evidence in the pole barn, so I've got stuff scattered all over the place, and it's kind of hard to have all that stuff. I guess I feel slighted if Rachel operates one building or office and I have another one, but yet they've got a third of the building. I mean, are they paying $1,000 a year? I don't know, but it just seems like it's not that feasible. If half of the budget for next year is $8,000, $4,000 of it would be relevant for the police department, I think turning the pole barn into an office space would be more cost effective, because in $4,000 a year, in 10 years would be $40,000. We own the building. It's a permanent location for us. It seems like we're moving ahead. It gives me a lot more space. I have 144 square feet for an office, and everything else is all displaced. The plan I gave you gives us pretty much 1,600 square feet of space. I've talked to a couple people. One was Gary Johnson, threw an idea about him. Would the building trades department be willing to work with us to build walls and, cost effective? I talked to Dean Wilson as far as what would it cost to insulate and or put heating in there, and all those ideas, and it's kind of rough, really, really rough, but it's about $40,000 or so is what we figured. Dean figured out 10 to 15 for heating and water, depending on what Sam could or couldn't do as far as his abilities and stuff like that. Also, what you're looking at that plan, it doesn't have to all be done at the same time. If my cars are sitting in there and they're not closed in, who cares? We own the whole building anyways. I'm not worried about the safety or the structure of my cars. So we could technically just start building some of it and work our way around and do it in phases or projects and stuff like that. It gets us out of here. You guys got a letter from me last month before that, with about 6 different concerns. And I think they're very valid points as far as getting us out of here to where I have some safety, some security, some privacy, and all those other things. So I think that could be a very, very,
I
feasible
think it would be
plan.
a much better use of the building and property we already have.
In my concerns, you're gonna put $40,000 into a 40-year-old pole barn.
I have that.
That's
same
reality.
concern. And would the building department approve a public building being a pole barn or a revamped pole barn?
Yeah, they would.
I don't, that's a
Uh,
question.
All of that stuff are big questions we have to.
Yeah, you could remodel it.
But on the
You could
inside
make
of it,
work.
you would actually have new walls because they have to be insulated, and there's some other things you could do. But like I said, it puts us, I think, in a permanent place. How long have we been renting? Somebody told me the other day, 30 years we've been paying rent.
No.
20 years,
Okay.
1996.
But with all this coming of light right now, it's a perfect opportunity to really research what your options are. Well, Scott, I read his letter that he submitted to all of the council members last month. He has some valid concerns. You could put a vault in at the DPW that isn't part of your public area. You could put Rachel and Scott in a public building downtown. Say you built it on that open space, say you bought one, you rented one, whatever. There's so many options that are available. Really open them up and think about it. May not be the most convenient for any one person, but what is in the best interest of the village and gets the job done. That's what you gotta look at.
That's what we're doing.
Scott, what was your number to have this, your estimated rough estimate to get this, floor plan refurbished and insulated? You threw out a number of $40,000.
Like I said, Dean Wilson said about 10 to 15 for heating and plumbing. Gary Johnson said somewhere around $5,000–6,000 for material to do interiors.
Sure.
But there's a lot of things I don't know. I mean, if you wanted me to come back with hardcore numbers, I could easily.
Well, that's getting the cart before the horse. We don't even know if we'd be
Exactly,
allowed to pursue this.
Sure, and if it means getting with the building department and having a one-on-one conversation, say, hey, is this even feasible or are we wasting our time? I would be more than glad to do that too, so.
That's probably the first step. we should do is contact the
Feasibility.
building department.
That's the other thing, I mean.
Scott, where is that at? Is
It's
that
the ideal
south
one.
end
It's
of the
so
whole
much
barn?
more used.
And so the question that I would then come back just to ask is, what does that do to you and your administration and your job for storage for
We don't
future
put,
use?
we don't put much storage in that end of the building.
So it
That's
really
reality.
doesn't
No.
do much.
And the other option-
You're not gonna hurt from it.
Right, it's not gonna affect me one bit on my end.
That would be the big thing I would.
Right.
It is.
We worry about that.
The other options that were brought up as far as putting us where my car currently is, it displaces his equipment too, so I would feel bad about, are we just moving stuff from there? He'd actually put all his stuff back in the pole barn, which that's where I'd want to go anyway, so, if we had to move the backhoe or the water truck or anything like that, and again, if they do that, you're really cramming us into some space. I definitely need some storage, I need evidence, I need things that, I don't need it down there where it's not safe and secure, and I think the plan that you got would give us a long-term plan as far as making sure it's in a permanent location to where we don't have to worry about skating around or moving out of there because it's somebody else's space. I joke around that I feel like the redheaded stepchild in my parents' basement, because we don't really have our own space, so.
Well, I think at this point, we've brought it to our attention and focus on it if you could for the next 30 days, and we'll come back and see what we come up with at that point too. So we have some time.
Do you want me to come up with some different numbers or anything, or?
I would check with the building
with the building
department,
department.
if they would allow us to revamp it, number one. If they say no, then we gotta move on.
Sure.
So beyond that, at this point, I think your estimates are probably close.
Scott is going to contact the building department, they're gonna come out and look at it, and then we're gonna go from there on the police department,
Then we're gonna,
correct? Yeah, I just wanna make sure we know, because when we come back next month and we're all gonna say, I thought you were gonna do that.
No, I'll take care of that.
Scott's
I mean,
doing
if you
that.
hypothetically said that the building is 8 foot too short and we had to add to it, impossible. It wouldn't even
Sure.
make sense to do that.
And
Or we
then,
have to dig it 3 foot under because drain, whatever, yes. But if it's something that you could say, yeah, just put up some interior walls, drop the ceiling, make sure that you pull the proper permits for water, sewer, all those things.
That's the thing that's gonna get you. It has to be a public area, which now you have to have ADA compatible bathrooms, you have to have ADA access. Them are the things that are gonna cost you the big bucks, which most likely aren't.
Sure. And if he says, hey,
Depends
that's
what
what's
you-
gonna kill you or whatever as far as the price, then
Yeah.
if not, maybe it's moving on to something else on one of the other projects. I mean, one of the things that did brought up was the lot across from your barber shop is a perfect spot to do something too.
We have to put raised floor in.
what about the building you have
I don't know.
listed across from the library? That big white one?
that's a pole building as well.
Oh,
I don't,
it's big.
it's big.
Yeah, but we're not paying, we own one already, so if you're gonna do one pole barn, you might as well do one where it currently owns.
This
And we're
one-
not taking out the tax, so.
Displacing,
What are they asking for on that pole barn?
147.
Well, I know.
All right, what are they asking for on the church?
110.
Because there's something around, so it's not.
churches gotta get.
No, I totally agree.
You know, that's what makes that.
In sanctuary, but we could
Basement
probably
with
have,
a walk-in cooler.
yeah.
We're talking about. I don't have a problem with it.
There's options, just think about our options, and we'll
Love
Send it
to.
back next
bring them
time.
back next time. I
Okay,
think that's where we're at right
She
now.
would too. She's already trained to.
Okay, next new business
Don't
item,
ever do it.
DPW front end loader.
I'm
Sam
talking
came to
nice
me
about it.
since our last meeting and said our loader that we have is 18 years old. He said at some point in time, we're gonna need a new one. I said,